Welcome to the course on supplements. This course, meant for laymen, will not turn you into a professional in using nutritional supplements, but it will give you some perspective, an important perspective, on the place of nutritional supplements in our lives and their value, why we actually even need supplements, and a glimpse into each supplement and its specific value and at least some of its specific picture, which is how we know whether you're not deficient in that supplement or not, in that ingredient or not. Okay? What we will learn together over the next set of videos, and don't forget, make sure you're signed up for this channel so that you get an update every time I upload a new video on another supplement. Over the course of this process, I'll be teaching you everything you actually need to know to understand when to turn to a professional and ask for help, or even to use some of those basic supplements for your needs at home without anyone else's assistance or suggestions, because the basics are simple. Everyone can understand them. It's the more complicated situations where you want to have a professional at hand. But who am I to teach this? Well, my name is Chen in English. I'm an Israeli naturopath that has been teaching in the world of naturopathy for many, many years. I have more than 30 years of experience teaching these fields. And very specifically, I've invested a lot of time into teaching nutritional supplements in depth to professionals. Of course, I've been using it in my clinic over these 30 years as well, on myself, on my family. So I have a lot of experience in this. And I can tell you that the experience has been very, very favorable. Very, very clear. And I'll be giving you a lot of examples, first-hand, second-hand examples that can actually make it clear how powerful this tool can be for your health. So you don't have any doubts when you consider whether or not to use nutritional supplements. Okay, I'll not be dealing with herbs here. I'll only be dealing with vitamins, minerals, amino acids, etc. Basic elements, ingredients that the body needs in order to function, that we can supplement, that we can give it in supplement form to make our wholesome food more nutritious for us. And in this preview, short preview, I intend to make it short videos. I don't want to overload you with hours of watching. In this short preview, I'd like to explain to you why supplements are even an issue. I mean, why should we need nutritional supplements if we have good food? That is the basic question, without which there's no point in the rest of this course. Well, the answer to that is actually very simple. When's the last time you've had a carrot that you just plucked out of the earth, brushed away the earth itself? Of course, we don't want to eat soil. Not that tasty. And took a bite out of it. Most of us don't get that pleasure. Don't get it. We get it from the supermarket or the health food store. And by the time it reached that shelf, that carrot had gone through such a distance that sometimes it's unbelievable. I mean, sometimes it's not even from the same country that you live in. And even if it is grown by your neighbor, if you hadn't actually knocked on his door and asked him for a carrot he just picked, and that carrot traveled the regular route from the farmer to the center where they collect all the vegetables and fruit, from there to the specific network of supermarkets you shop in, from the network center to the specific supermarket where you go shopping to, and the amount of time it might have spent in their refrigerators at every step, including your own supermarket, before being brought out to the shelf. That long process can take such a long time that research has found that many carrots, by the time they reach your plate, contain only 1% or even 10% of that 1% of the original beta-carotene, which is the actual, the most common factor we know in carrot to be of value. Now, that's like one of the classical nutritional supplements. That's what's so good for your eyes, as the saying goes. But if you only get 1% of the real value of that carrot by the time it reaches your plate, and our forefathers obviously had it much shorter time, much shorter interval between the picking and the eating, that means we're not getting the same value our forefathers got when we're eating that carrot. Now, if it's not organic, then there's another gap. Because all those pesticides and all those chemicals, they don't just have an issue with our body in a direct form, when you accumulate them. They have an effect on the ingredients within those vegetables and fruit or grains or anything else that's inorganically grown. The value of that food is lower when it's picked. And of course, the additional bonus of the leftover legally contained pesticides, etc., well, they accumulate. And they actually rob us of a lot of important elements within, because the body needs to invest a lot of elements into detoxifying itself from those, chemicals. So, in effect, just these two changes alone already bring us to a really big deficiency just by comparing our diet with our forefathers' diet. Now, do we really eat like our forefathers nowadays? I mean, are we even close to eating like them? Just think about how much processed foods our society consumes. And processed food means that food had gone through some processes within factories before it even reached our plate. That means it was already cooked, or it was already dealt with in other ways, which means it already lost some of its value even before we had the pleasure, of deciding what to do with it for ourselves. So, industrialized processed foods reduce the amount of value in our food by a meaningful quota. I mean, some things get more salt added than we could ever ask for and need. Some things are pre-cooked. Some things are pre-cooked in water. The water is washed away. All the minerals go with the water. I mean, there's 1,000 examples about how industrialized foods actually means a lot less nutritional value. It's nothing new. So when we consider all this picture, we have the first problem to deal with, and that is the problem that our food is less valuable than we need it to be in the first place. And that is a known fact. I'll drop some links below for all kinds of sources you can read if you really want to go in depth into this. But the real issue is accepting the fact that all I said is easily proven. Now, there's a second factor that's even bigger. The stress level we're dealing with in modern times is growing exponentially. Stress is all about dealing with change. Our forefathers had only so much change per lifetime. What they, experience as changed over a whole lifetime, we can sometimes experience within 5 minutes. I mean, just getting acquainted with AI alone, not really, dealing with it and understanding it and then seeing how it works for us or how it can work against us or whatever. Just getting acquainted with this whole concept alone is a leap that is so big for our mind that it is definitely equivalent to much more than what our forefathers had to deal with their whole lifetimes. So, what does stress cause our body? Well, without going into really deep, digging, because that would be like a whole other chain of videos, the bottom line is very simple. Stress requires that we invest some of the basic ingredients within our body into dealing with the stress. into creating cortisol, into creating adrenaline, into rushing the sugar out of the muscles and the liver to be available because we're about to fight a lion, even if there is no lion around. We are constantly burning through B complex, through zinc, through vitamin C, through magnesium, and that's without the regular life. I'm talking just about dealing with the stress on its own. Add to that those of us who do a lot of good exercise actually burn through magnesium and a lot of other ingredients just because they exercise. That's a good thing, right? But the price of exercising without nourishing yourself in proportion, beyond just a lot of cramped muscles often, is again a greater cause for deficiency, for lacking in ingredients that we need for our basic life, for our basic health. So there's a lot more to this, but even if we just take these two aspects, what happened to our food over these past centuries and what happened to our lives over these past centuries, our life habits and our reality and what we have to deal with, just these two shifts that happened pretty drastically over the past decades, even not hundreds of years, even just decades. Only these alone are already enough to explain why very, very many people, when I test them, come out very, very, very deficient in basics. And I'll be talking about how we test it, how we tell about, whether we're deficient or not. That's part of the course itself, obviously. But I think that in this preview, my main purpose was to clarify that this is not just some whim. Using supplements, whether based on the philosophy of the orthomolecular medicine, I'll go into that in one of the future videos, and there are many amazing doctors that took that challenge a long time ago. And it's still a running movement, they're doing a lot of good. And whether you're thinking naturopathically and whether you're just in a state of mind that says, I deserve to have the best that I can get for my function so that I can enjoy this life. Even just that basic assumption alone is a good reason to continue watching this series, taking it into your own hands to understand the importance of nutritional supplements and where they can be used and for what reason. And obviously, if you're a professional listening to this, this series will help you gain more confidence from your clients in the need for supplements. So you might want to just send them over to watch this. It'll probably come back to you with dividends. So I'll be waiting for you in the next video, giving more value. And you're welcome to sign up for this specific channel, but also for the specific list of videos, because I will be putting it in here specifically. It's easy to follow if it's the same chain of videos. And if you have questions along the way, whether it's for this video or the future videos, please don't hesitate to ask in the chat below. I will be taking the time to answer every one of you as best I can. And if you want to ask about specific supplements, or if you want to ask about specific situations, etc., be sure to give enough information so that I can actually give you a relevant answer. Okay? No general questions, because then you'll get a very general answer. And last thing, before I close this video, if this kind of learning appeals to you and you would like to hear more about a wider range of subjects that I'm proficient and professional in, then you might want to look me up, down below in my community. It's called Gallstones Warriors, and it's mainly focused on the question of gallstones. But gallstones actually means you have to be focused on stress management and on a lot of other subjects as well, which you are probably going to enjoy studying with me, or dialoguing with me, or just going up into Zooms with me, and having a great chat, or listening to me give a lecture. I have a lot of experience in that. So you might want to join in. The community is free, and it's there for you. So Until next time, I'm Chen.